This is a Hammarlund HQ-129-X shortwave receiver. These were built right after World War II. I think right after, sometime after the war ended here. It's a single conversion super heterodyne unit. It has a 455 kC IF in it. 11 vacuum tubes. It covers 540 kilohertz to 31 megahertz in 6 bands, I believe. This was given to me by a guy who couldn't get it to work, and I'm not sure what's wrong with it. He said he played around with it and didn't have any luck, so he said he got sick of looking at it. So I'm not really a vacuum tube guy, but I thought this would be a fun project to work on. This unit is in really nice shape, at least physically. I don't know what it's electronically, how well it is, but it seems to be in really nice shape. No rust, no evidence of any damage. I looked inside, lid flips open here. No mouse houses. So I'm going to open the lid, take a look inside. Here you can see it's in pretty nice shape. Of course, all vacuum tubes. I got a lot of vacuum tubes if I have to replace any of them. I'm pretty sure I've got replacements for all of these. They're all pretty common tubes, I believe. Really, it's pretty clean. I'm surprised. Before I power it up, I'm going to take it out of the case here, and that will expose the wiring underneath and see if I find any problems physically that look like I wouldn't want to power it up. And then I'll put it on a variac and bring it up slow. I imagine this is all original. We'll see. If it is, it's got a lot of old paper caps in it, which I need to check out. And also I'm sure there's an electrolytic in here that's old. It's probably dried out. So anyway, I'm going to remove it from the case, and then I'll be back and we'll look underneath and see what we find. So stand by for that. I took the unit out of its case, and it's on the turntable, and I'm going to flip it upside down so we can inspect the bottom. This one isn't too heavy for a boat anchor. Some of those can get quite heavy. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I think I like what I see. Looks like they replaced a bunch of those old paper caps. So we've got an old electrolytic here. This isn't an original electrolytic, I don't believe. But I'll check this out. But it looks pretty nice inside. Some of these shafts could need oiling here. Anyway, I'm pleasantly pleased here. I'm going to put this on a variac, bring it up slow with an ammeter, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky and find out. First, I'm gonna look it over and see if I see anything that's untoward. I'll hook it up. If it doesn't blow a fuse, I'll see if I got plate voltage, and then we'll go from there. So stand by. I ran the receiver up on the variac, and everything was okay. No heavy currents. I won't show that because that gets boring. But anyway, so now I'm running it off the line, 120 volts direct, and I've got it on. I've got sensitivity on max, RF gain on max, got a speaker hooked up, and I get nothing. Now I have the Clemens signal generator here set on 1000 kilohertz, and tuning through 1000 kilohertz on the unit here, I get nothing. I'm connected directly into the antenna, and I'm running in some pretty hot RF, so I should be able to pick that up. There's nothing. I hear a slight noise in the speaker, which makes me think the audio amplifier is working. So I have a feeling this is more in the front of the unit here, maybe in an IF stage or maybe in the front end. I don't know. This does have an RF amp, and it has 3 IF stages in it, so it could be any one of those. Although if an IF amp went out, I would imagine at the rate I'm driving into this thing, I would think it could bleed through and we could at least hear something here, but there's nothing. So anyway, I need to investigate that further. So I think the first thing I'll do, I'll make sure I'm getting plate voltage on all the tubes, and then we'll try to trace out where we're losing our signal coming in. So stand by for that. I'm going to take some voltage measurements around the unit here and see what we get. Of course, I'm dealing with high voltage in here, so be very careful if you do this at home. And remember what Eddie Kilowatt says. Yeah. Anyway, remember that from when I was a kid. I'm measuring here the plate of the RF amp here. I think it's pin 3. I'm getting 106 volts DC. So that seems fairly normal. I'm going to measure the plate of the 6K8 converter here. See if I can. Whoops, wrong one. This one. Whoa. Oh, that's different. I got 240 volts on the plate of the 6K6. So that seems normal. Kind of startled me there. A little bit of noise. So we got plate voltage here. So that's not the problem here. So let's see if we can trace this out a little more. Let me do some tracing and then I'll be back. Stand by. Taking some resistance measurements here, I found connection on the converter tube here. The cathode resistor seems to be open. This is a 240 ohm resistor, and I'm measuring across that cathode resistor here, and I'm measuring open circuit. And the only thing, you've got 2 bypass caps across here, of course, we'll measure infinite DC, and just to the cathodes, I should be measuring to ground. I should be measuring 240 volts, and I've got open. So I'm going to remove, let's see, what is it? I'm going to remove, well, it's number 64 on this Sam's PhotoFact schematic diagram, 240 ohm cathode resistor. I'm going to remove that and replace it. I don't know if I have a 240, but I'll look and see, and then we'll see what happens. So stand by for that. Here's the open cathode resistor that I got in the converter stage in that rig. I got a meter here, so I'll measure across the resistor here, and we get open circuit. So anyway, that was the culprit. The circuit used a 240 ohm half watt resistor. I didn't have any of those, but I did have some 1 watt resistors. I didn't have any 240, so I took a 220 and a 40 ohm and I put them in series. So this is the new cathode resistor, and so we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Got the power back on. As you can hear, I've got the Clemens on 1000 kilohertz here. Here's the unit on 1000 kilohertz. So we're picking it up. Let's try a different band. Let's try, oh yeah, we got some noise here. There's about 3 megahertz, so we're picking up that. Let's try, let's go up a ways. Try about 8. Now let's try 10. Where are you? There you are. There's 10 megahertz. Let's try, let's go up. ABC seems to be working a little bit. There's 30 megahertz. So it seems like all the bands are working here. One thing I noticed, S meter's not working. Yeah, that thing should be buried here. I'm running in some pretty hot RF. So we got a problem with the S meter. That's not working. Looks like the BFO is working. Probably needs a good alignment, so that'll be the next step. I'm not going to go through that. That's pretty easy. I'm going to look and see why our S meter's not working next. I was dreading on working on the S meter problem here, because if you can look here, the S meter's basically controlled by the right section of this 6SN7. It's a dual triode here, and if you look at the right plate, it goes through a little bridge here and the meter's there to ground, and I wasn't getting any reading, and I thought, oh no, you know, these components in here are buried down in here, you can see. So trying to get at those, I pull the high voltage filter capacitor here to get access, but you know, these parts are buried in there. I'd have to remove a lot of stuff. So what I found was, luckily, here you can see the meters working, and it was probably the easiest fix you're ever going to see. That 6SN7 tube here, I just cleaned the contacts in the tube. So evidently, the right section of that tube was not making a good contact, and thus I wasn't getting a meter. Here, I can control the sensitivity here. And I can control the level of this signal here. So that's working now. So that's good. I wasn't looking forward to digging into that labyrinth. So now I'm going to hook it up to an external antenna. Let's see if we can pick up some outside signals. I got a dipole. It's about a 40-meter dipole hooked up outside. So I'm going to hook that up and we'll see if we get any signals here. It's in the middle of the afternoon, so I'm probably not going to get real good transmission, but we might get something, well, we'll see, maybe some powerful shortwave stations, so stand by. Here I've tuned in a few stations here to see how this thing's working. It doesn't need an alignment, I can tell, but here's WWV on 20 megahertz. Yeah, it's coming in kind of...
At the tone, 19 hours, 4 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
Beginning November 15th.
See if we can get it on 15 megahertz.
Investigation and NISP. The signal consists of various tones. Chirp.
Here's 15 megahertz.
The signal will
WWV.
be broadcast to several weeks.
Oh,
For more information,
peek the antenna, boy, that's pretty sensitive. You see the S meters running.
Visit www.hamspy.org. That's WWV.
At the tone, 19 hours, 5 minutes, Coordinated Universal Time.
I'll try 5 megahertz, but I doubt that's going to work this time of day. Yeah, I don't get anything. I didn't think I would.
Lo cual hace pensar a esta altura del juego que muy posiblemente esos desaparecidos son fallecidos todavía hay sobrevivientes en muchas edificaciones.
Shortwave station.
Totalmente, sí.
Ha visto milagros.
Exactamente.
Ingeniero, ¿qué diferencia hay entre un doblete sísmico y una réplica convencional? ¿Y por qué este caso fue tan especialmente destructivo?
It's a little over 13 megahertz.
Cuando tú
Then there's like a little hum in there too. That main filter's checked good.
A woman last month was just stopped from coming into the United States 37 weeks pregnant, solely
There's a
to give
local
birth in
AM
the United
station.
States and then return to her home country. If you want to go find this, I've shared this, lots of people have shared this on X. A UK
Yeah, I got a little bit of hum in there.
agent at a Nigerian airport
Anyway, I think the audio needs a little work. Maybe I got some caps that in the audio chain that need fixing. But at least it's running now. Here's a schematic of the HQ-129-X. I blew this one up from the manual, which is downloadable on the internet. And this is an old receiver. Like I say, this is built right after the war, so it's pretty simple. It's single conversion, 1 IF 455 KC, so you know, it's not by today's standards a really great receiver. I like a separate oscillator too. They use a converter tube here. I think they call this a triode hexode tube. To work on one of these without a schematic would be pretty tough, so download the schematic. But also available, and you can find this on the internet, is a Sam's photo fact for this receiver. And that was very helpful, because here is a schematic from the Sam's, and you've got all your parts are numbered, and then they have a master sheet here with all the part numbers and their values, descriptions, and everything on here. Here's another one that shows a view of the unit here, all the different sections. This one was very helpful for me. This shows the bottom view of the chassis with all the parts. They're all numbered, and then you can look up each part. It's referenced to the schematic. So part number like 61 here, you can look on the schematic, part number 61, and that'll tell you exactly what value that part is. Another resource is the tube basing diagrams for the vacuum tubes. These are all available too on the internet, so they help. I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. You know, I've got newer radios, like some newer Yaesus that can outperform these. Even some double and triple conversion radios that are much better than this. But at the time, this was quite a radio. So if you can get one of these at a Hamfest or whatever. This one was given to me. I guess the guy that had it before me, he just got tired of looking at it. He said, I can't get it to work, and if you want it, take it. And it looked in such good shape, I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. Anyway, this one is going to go in the boneyard, I believe. So, anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.